pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Roll it.
Welcome to The Point.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to Guess the 12th episode. That's right, Haystacks. 3 months of The Point. It's gone by in record fashion. I swear to God, it feels like we just started this yesterday. Still kicking ass, still taking names. Thank you, everybody, for the likes, subscribe, shares, all that good stuff. The numbers are still through the roof. Couldn't be prouder. So, first and foremost, a shout out to my boy here on the other side of the screen, the man, the myth, the legend, Haystacks. Him and his partner, Rising Sun, the Union, successful title defense. Just Friday night? Saturday night?
Saturday night, last night.
Yeah. So, still reigning, defending tag team champions. So, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Couldn't have done it without my partner, man. It's a team effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as true in promos as it is anywhere else. So.
Absolutely.
So, new concept this week, point or no point. We're going to go through. I'm going to throw some points out there that I think are points. Haystacks is going to say point or no point. If he says point, we're going to stop. We're going to talk about it. If he says no point, we're going to move right on down the damn line and find something that is interesting. It does have a point. So, first and foremost, right off the bat, the NFL draft has changed dramatically this year with COVID-19. We have a virtual NFL draft. Point or no point?
Big point.
Big point. Okay, so I don't know if you know this, but in the first round, they had 15.6 million, 15.6 million viewers just for the first round alone. Now, was that, do you think, and I know we're all cooped up in the house for COVID-19, coronavirus. You know, you and myself are essential workers. We have to go to work, so it ain't so bad for us. We actually get the hell out of the house, whether we like it or not. The mask and all that jazz. But do you think it was because, I mean, hell, really the only sports we have right now other than virtual NASCAR races and Tiger Woods talking about woulda, shoulda, coulda and what they're going to do and virtual this, virtual that, you know, NASCAR virtual races, and we got some WWE product, AEW product, which is, do you think it's just because we're cooped up in the house and people are dying to see sports other than The Last Dance, which is still ongoing? Or do you think this is, well, hell, it's got to be. I mean, let me hear your take on it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. People want football. We had the XFL. Everybody was super hyped about the XFL. It was doing fairly well, and it was taken from us. I think people need that. It's like a drug, man. They need that fix. And even if it is the draft, they got their fix, at least seeing what their teams are going to do.
Right. And we were talking a little bit before we came on here about, going forward and this, that, and the other. And my particular opinion is I know the NFL is looking at the success of this particular draft being virtual. And they're talking about going forward using this same format in years going forward, next year and the year after. What do you think about that? Do you think that works? Or do you think that just kind of fits right now for the situation? And then we go back to the conventional, everybody creased up, shined up, in person, ready to rock and roll.
I liked it. Sitting in his bed, on the ESPN, the sports phone. And me personally, if that's the biggest moment of my life, going from collegiate football to the NFL, being a millionaire overnight. I don't want to be in a banquet hall with a bunch of strangers. I want to be with my friends and family at home, enjoying the moment with the people that I know. Plus, the money that it saved the NFL. You kind of got to look at that one too.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest with you, from a business standpoint, if I'm Roger Goodell and all the powers that be in the NFL, and by the way, RIP XFL, man, I hope it comes back. I hope somebody buys it. And I hope it comes back well, because it really was a good thing. It really was, and it is, and I truly believe it'll be back. But the little engine that could scenario. But as far as the draft goes with the NFL, I think going forward from the business standpoint, from the powers that be, you look at the money saved. You can't really look at the viewers, because the viewers are going to be there. I think the viewers spike because everybody's cooped up and they got The Last Dance, and that's really all they got. Everybody's looking for their fix. And like you said, football, it is like a drug. Pro football, man. It's just American as a damn apple pie, man. So you're going to have the viewers there. But as far as the money being saved, like we talked about earlier before the show, is, maybe the first 10, 15 picks, you have them guys, creased up, shined up there in person, and everything else be virtual. So you can speed up the process, make it a more streamlined process, and then save your money on the back end and still have the same product. Because you have to look at it, and we know this from the entertainment world, you have to look at it from a cinematic point. We're not losing anything. We're seeing everything the way, regardless. We're seeing the picks, we're seeing the reactions, we're seeing the interviews, and that's by way of the internet. And I think that's a more efficient way of doing it. And the money that they save, they can put back into players, they can put back into health, they can put back into insurance, they can put back into research on concussions. I just think it's a good thing. And if they play their chips right, man, they can really turn this into a, I don't want to say political, but it is political. They can turn this into one hell of a campaign to make the NFL higher ups, including Roger Goodell, more favorable with the audience. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Even if they would do the first round, the first 32 picks, do those televised, with the guys there or whatever, and then everything else after that. I mean, honestly, how many people really sit around there like, oh yeah, let's sit down and watch round 5 of the NFL draft where they're taking place kickers. Those guys pretty much know from then those are burner picks, those are slot fillers, those are guys that they're going to sign just to sign, see if maybe they get lucky. If not, they're going to cut them. So why not just, have a ticker on ESPN.com and says, okay, Detroit Lions took this guy, and then immediately after, LA Rams take this guy, and just be done with it. Why waste 3 days and 5 rounds of drafts?
True. Here's my point. Here's my point on the draft and this whole scenario. In any and all sports, and we've talked before, I'm not a guy who agrees with the whole everyone gets a trophy scenario. Okay. When we were kids, we lost, we got our feelings hurt, and we understood what it meant to have our feelings hurt, and we busted our ass and we came back twice as hard, no matter what the sport was. And that's the spirit of competition, the point of having a championship. So the way I look at it, if you do what we're talking about here, where you only have them there in person for the first round per se, right? Well, then you give these kids coming up, I mean, hell, they're going to the NFL. It doesn't make a damn what round they're in, right? Just to be drafted is huge. Or hell, to be an undrafted free agent and to come in, it's huge. So you give these kids something to work for. Like, man, if I go in the first round and I'm big shit, I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to be all over. It's going to be a big deal. And, when you have look, man, when you have the first round, the very first pick, right, which more often than not turns out to be nothing, But when you have the first pick going on TV, he's being handed a jersey. He's taking pictures of Roger Goodell. And so is the last guy picked in the 5th round, 7th round, whatever the hell it is, supplemental. In my opinion, that kind of takes away from the gusto of the top tier picks. I mean, we all know number 1 pick is different than the last pick, but when it looks the same, what the hell is there to strive towards? I mean, it's just a little perk. Maybe that's a poor choice of word.
No, I agree. It kind of cheapens the product, when you've got a team taking, the 249th pick, they're taking a freaking place kicker from Guadalajara, and it's just like, oh, wow. And you got a guy that just went 15-0, won a national championship and number 1, and he got the exact same thing. It's kind of like, yeah. You just got a guy that just signed a $40 million contract with a guy that just signed a league minimum, which league minimum now is what, like $125,000?
I want to say it's $450, but I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Damn, I need to go to the NFL.
Since the new CBA, I think it's $450, but I may be wrong. That may be a rookie contract. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure hey, viewers out there, pointiswhat@gmail.com. Hit us up. We want a rebuttal. So moving on in the interest of time, the next point or no point, you tell me. Jameis Winston is apparently signing with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah. It's not really a point, but we'll go point because there's a little bit of promise to this story since we came on the air. Normally I would say no point, but right before we came on the air, I seen a tweet go out that gives promise to this situation.
Do tell.
As everybody knows, has probably seen, Jameis Winston was offered a much more significant contract from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but declined more money to be able to learn from Drew Brees and Sean Payton. So, you go from being a hooligan that stealing crab legs to making smart business decisions in a matter of a few years and turning down more money. In my opinion, that's showing some maturity and that's showing some give a damn to his profession. So, kudos, Jameis. Good call.
Yeah, let me tell you my point on this. I'm a Jameis Winston fan, and I'm gonna tell you why. I believe he's a carbon copy of Cam Newton. I believe that in the right system, Jameis Winston can be a monster.
Yes.
I hearken back to quarterbacks like, and maybe this is a bad comparison, but Michael Vick, for example. I think in the right system, maybe that's a bad example. Let me give another. Kurt Warner, Drew Brees. If you remember correctly, he has not always been the same. In the right system, Tom Brady, which the Bucs fans are going to find out this year. In the right system, you thrive when all the pieces fit. I mean, hell, again, harking back to The Last Dance, if you watch that, you'll see. Without the right coach, without the right mentality, Michael Jordan may or may not have ever been the champion that he was. He was always going to be dominant, greatest player to ever play the game, but would he have been a champion? And that's what we remember. Let's face it. That's what we remember these players by, championships, not how pretty they are. So Jameis Winston, I think, made the right move, signing with the Saints instead of the Steelers. And I'll tell you why. I'm not a Mike Tomlin fan because I think it's more act than it is substance. I'm not a Ben Roethlisberger fan because I think he's good. He's a good quarterback. He's won Super Bowls. I got nothing against the man. I got nothing against Mike Tomlin. I'm just the hell they done better than the Panthers did. Ben Roethlisberger's done more than Cam Newton did, but then again, he was in a different system with a different OC and DC and head coach. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, if Jameis Winston would have signed with the Steelers, he would have been another number. He may or may not have gotten a shot if Ben got hurt, and let's face it, he probably will get hurt. I like Ben. He's just getting older. He's more frail, just like we all are. With Jameis Winston falling behind Drew Brees, the Saints are in the Panthers division, and everybody knows I'm a Panthers fan. Let me preface this. But I'm a Drew Brees fan, and I'll tell you why. Have you ever seen Drew Brees the one time that he had to sit out because of an injury and broke his streak, and he was sitting on the sidelines? If you want to know what kind of football player and what kind of man the work ethic that Drew Brees has, go back to that game, and I don't have the specific date in my head. He's sitting on the sidelines with a headset on in the ready position, licking his fingers like he's in the game. I mean, you can't teach what Drew Brees has, the want to, that I like to say all the time, man. So if you're Jameis Winston with the pure God-given ability that you have, and you're at this stage in your career, and we've all seen a lot worse quarterbacks than Jameis Winston come on and get hot later in their career.
Correct.
I think he made a great decision, and I think he will end up being the backup to Drew Brees. And I know it's a one-year deal, but I think it will blossom into something bigger for the Saints, because one or two things are going to happen. Drew Brees ain't going to be around forever. I think Drew Brees' deal was either a year or 2 years, the extension, right? Because he's up there in age as well. He can't play forever, even though we'd all like him to. Just like Peyton Manning. Nobody wanted to see him go, but he had to go. Either he's going to end up taking the starting job of the Saints, or he's going to pull a Walker in the XFL, and he's going to get eyeballs on him, and he'll be whisked away to another team to hopefully try to lead them to a championship. And hell, at this point, it may or may not be the Carolina Panthers the way we're looking. So what's your thoughts on that? How do you think Winston's future is going to play out in the NFC South?
Anything's possible. I mean, he could, God forbid, Drew Brees could get hurt and he could end up being the starter at the halfway point of the season. But, what's he going to learn if he goes to Pittsburgh? He's going to learn how to be in trouble like Ben Roethlisberger, or get smacked in the dome with football helmets like, that kid's name from Oklahoma State? I think that the atmosphere fits him better. He came from Florida State. St. Louis, the weather stays a little bit warmer than it does in Pittsburgh, so that fits him a little bit better. I don't think that the cold would have worked well for him either, on top of other things. But I like the maturity that he showed. The kid could have signed, rode out the bench behind Roethlisberger, made a crap ton of money riding the bench, and said, whatever. It shows me that the kid wants to play, and he wants to win, and he wants to learn.
Jameis Winston inside of a dome. Something to think about. And I mean, it's something to think about. Besides, hell, genuinely the only thing he's going to learn in Pittsburgh's how to watch his head coach trip players as they're running back a punt. So, Anyway, So next point, moving on, interest of time. The other little tidbit that came down the pipe, and you actually sent me this early this morning. For those of you who don't know, in the professional wrestling world, the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump, and the dog himself, one of the greatest tag teams to exist in the pro wrestling world in years. They innovative as hell. I still remember the day I watched Scott Steiner hit the Frankensteiner, which is big son bitch, jumping up, catching the guy by the head with his legs, doing a backflip and dropping the guy on his head. It was absolutely insane. You don't see that. You see all kinds of shit like that now, but you don't see big guys like that pulling it off. But anyway, getting down to the nitty gritty, apparently Rick Steiner's son, Bronson Rex Steiner, he has, Point or no point?
Yeah, we'll go with the point. I like the Steiner brothers, by the way. Glad to hear that Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner is doing better after his massive heart attack that we almost lost from. So,
yeah, I think he's learned from the error of his ways, the errors of a young man. I think he has cut back on some stuff. Get my drift? And I think that was an eye opener. So yeah, hell yeah, Scott. I'm glad to hear you doing well. I know he's a restaurateur or a restaurantee. He owns a couple of franchises, and I know he has a lot of passion in that stuff. Just glad to hear that all around. So I kind of got off. Yeah, I was ready to talk about this. I forgot all about the point or no point, and I got my teeth. No, hey, I got my teeth sunk into it. So, but you said point, so let's talk about it. All right. This man, Bronson Rex Steiner, he went to Kennesaw State. He was a fullback. And, you know, a lot of these big stars get lost, man, in these smaller colleges, you know, the junior colleges and the NAIA and different, you know, levels in Division 1, 2, and 3 in each one of them. And, you know, they kind of fall out. But this guy here, his dad's Rick Steiner, the dog. So, of course, you know, he gets a little bit more notoriety than most, but he should have notoriety anyway. Because I don't know if you saw the picture of him, and I may or may not. If I can find it, I will post it up here right about this area in this video.
I don't have his stats, but from what I see, this kid is a freak of nature.
He is a Brock Lesnar looking joke. He is a beast.
Goodness.
But what you may or may not know is he led his team last year, Kennesaw State, as a fullback. He led that team in 909 yards rushing, and he was averaging 8 yards per at that size.
Well, yeah, my God, it'd be like trying to take down a damn bulldozer.
Right. So apparently he was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. And we're going to see what he has at the next level. But, I mean, let's be honest. I don't know, and I'm sure there has been maybe. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me or the stats in front of me, the information in front of me. I'm not sure. I've never heard of Kennesaw State. I'm not sure anybody else in the NFL is from Kennesaw State. But this guy here has a shot. And to say, regardless of who he is, how big he is, what he's done, what he hasn't done, he has made it to the NFL. He has an opportunity. And we hear from the point I'll speak for Haystacks, if you don't mind, and myself. You know, Bronson, we wish you all the best, brother, and we will be keeping our eyes peeled, even if you are playing for the shitty Ravens. But anyway.
As a Browns fan, screw you. But as a fan of your uncle and your dad, tear everybody except the Browns up.
That's right. I will be watching.
Absolutely.
I'm willing to bet with his size at fullback in the NFL, he will be a monster.
That kid's going to hurt some people. That right there, man, it's a shame. I would love to see that kid right there go head-to-head with Ray Lewis one time.
I got a little bonus point for you. Ready for this? He's also been attending wrestling school. So if I had to guess, his father, of course, being a hell of a lot smarter than the character he plays, has taught this man, hey, look, you need to have a fallback. And you need to have a fallback for the fallback, right? So he's trying his hand at the NFL, which I'm sure is going to work fine. If it doesn't, he's got pro wrestling. Hell, he's certainly got the bloodline that's in his DNA, right? Or he plays a few years in the NFL and then says, hey, I got my money. Now let me go follow my dream and follow my dad's footsteps and be a pro wrestler. And if all that don't work out, hell, I got my degree, right? So good on the Rex Steiner family, man. Good on them. So, but we've come to a point. It's a good place for a break. We'll take a short break. The same commercial you see every week. but we're going to put it out there anyway to remind you to tune in next week, next Tuesday, for episode 13. We're going to play that, which gives this old man here a chance to use the little boy's room and take a little bit of a break. Honestly, get my daughter tucked in the bed. It's getting kind of late. I know. I'm going to speak on this before we get off here. These kids, man, being out of school. I got to tell you, sticking to a routine. Sticking to the routine is getting kind of tough. But,
it's an extended summer break. It's supposed to be time.
Somewhat. Still got responsibilities, though. And to tell a 15-year-old that sometimes is not an easy thing to do. But anyway, take a quick.
Here's the secret. It's kind of like work. When you hate your job and you're doing 40 hours a week and you're doing 5 8-hour days, you talk to your boss, you're like, hey, man, can I do 4 10 so I can have 3 days off?
It's a constant evolution, we will say. Huh? So I'm going to get off here. I'm going to handle that situation. And then me and Haystack's going to be back on the other side of this little break. We'll catch you on the flip. See you in a sec.
Join us next week for another action-packed episode of The Point.
Thank you for staying tuned, Point Nation. Welcome back from the break. Going to hop right back in this again for time constraints. Let's get to it. So, again, new concept, point or no point. Hey, Stacks, my next point, simply put, Cody Rhodes, or Cody Rhodes, as we all know, his father, his brother, the legacy that goes along. Apparently, he filed a trademark for his name, point or no point.
I think we'll go with a point on that one.
All right. So since you said point, the point is, simply put, WWE's trademark expired on the Cody Rhodes name, which in and of itself, in my mind, is bullshit. But there again, it's not his birth name. It is a character name, even though it is Dusty Rhodes' son and Dustin Rhodes' brother. But the day that trademark expired, Cody files the trademark. Yeah, he's been watching it. It's obvious he's been watching it. Let me ask you your point on this, your take on this. How do you feel about trademarks and names when you think about, like Zack Ryder, he was released from WWE. He's changed his whole ring attire, his whole gimmick, and he's filing for trademarks for new names and all that stuff. But people don't pay that any mind. They don't pay that any attention. The guy playing Zack Ryder or whatever. You see somebody like a Cody Rhodes, that's when it kind of touches home a little bit more because people don't know Dusty Rhodes as Dusty Runnels. They know Dusty Rhodes. And you get so enthralled in that, and maybe I am too, that you forget that that's a character name. So what's your take on all this trademarking and all of that? I know it's for legal reasons, but how do you feel about it?
With names and stuff, man, it kind of bothers me because, they've done that to Cody. They've done that to, who was the other one that they did it to that went to Impact? Even Impact done it to the whole Broken Brilliance and Broken Hardy gimmick and everything. In my opinion, if a character is successful, I understand the entity of the WWE. Hey! I ain't afraid to do it live. I don't care. But the entity trademarking that to make money, I understand. But at the end of the day, it's that person's job to monetize and to make or break that character. In my opinion, like a Dusty or like a Dusty Rhodes, a Cody Rhodes. if they're successful in monetizing that to an extent, I think that they should set a scale up. If they're successful in getting that character over on a monetized level, then if the relationship is fractured, there should be some kind of scale in place to where the worker then has the rights to that since they were a success at their job.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's kind of like John Cena. When John Cena was in OVW, he was the prototype John Cena. The character sucked. When he came to WWE, Dr. Thugonomics, boom, John Cena blew up. At that point, John Cena went from the prototype that sucked to the Doctor of Thugonomics and was a success. That wasn't WWE. That was John Cena. They gave him the name. John Cena made the character a success. That's on him. That's his body of work.
True
so
story.
I think that they should have the rights to that.
Right. It's just kind of weird when you're talking about a classic, man. When you're talking about a legacy such as the Rhodes, man. I think it's kind of a sensitive subject. But getting back to the point of the whole thing is that Cody Rhodes has filed for the trademark, and I think we'll finally see the Rhodes name pick back up as far as Cody goes. We'll see the Rhodes name pick back up, and I think it's going to be a beautiful thing. And shame on WWE if they try to fight this in any way, shape, or form, man, because at that point, it's just sour grapes. You mentioned the Broken Hardy thing and all that. Impact Wrestling, people can talk all the shit they want about Vince McMahon and WWE, and or do they make poor choices on characters and storylines? Absolutely. We're not always going to agree with everything they do. The effort's still there on the wrestler's part, but they got to answer to somebody, and they got to do what they're told. People bitch about Roman Reigns. They bitch about John Cena. You can bitch about them all you want to. They're only doing what they're told. They can wrestle more than they do in the ring. They have more move sets. They can do all the wrestling that everybody else can do. They're doing what they're told to do, man. They get in their 3-4 spots. I mean, hell, look at Hogan, for Christ's sake. He was the man over there for years. Leg drop, the whole no-selling chops. I mean, it's the same shit, okay? That's the environment we're talking about. But, when it gets down to it at the end of the day, you have to do what you're told, for one. And two, with these names, like you said, I think it's just a matter of getting caught up in the legacy and the personal nature of it and hearing the name for so many years. And I kind of lost track of what the hell I was talking about there for a second. I got kind of passionate there for a minute. But I think it's a good thing in the long run. The Broken Hardy thing I was talking about a second ago, Vince McMahon didn't screw over the Broken Universe. That was Impact Wrestling refusing to give the rights to Matt Hardy, refusing to release it out of nothing but spite and bitterness because he had went back to WWE. There's a certain situation going on right now that people are all salty and just thinking that that's happening, and it's not, and on a much lesser scale. So I can only imagine what it's like in that professional world. But so anyway, there's the point. Cody, wish you all the best, man. AEW still kicking ass, taking names, innovative, creative, and all that shit in between. So the next issue, point or no point. I don't know if you noticed during the NFL draft that the Green Bay Packers, and a lot of people believe that Aaron Rodgers is on the downswing. I happen to be one of those who think, I think Aaron Rodgers is like a Drew Brees, man. He's one of those mainstays. You give him the shit around him he needs, and he's going to make it happen. They did not draft. Let me back up. Packers draft class, point or no point.
We're going to go with a point on this one because I see that you've got one hell of a point coming at us.
True story. I don't have many, but today does feel like a point kind of day, right? After all, we are on the point. So I don't know if you out there in the Point Nation know this or not, but the Packers did not draft any receivers. Now, it's not unheard of for a team to not draft receivers. You look at the Panthers, for example. The Panthers, they drafted corners, they drafted safeties, they drafted 2 defensive ends. It's not unheard of. But when you think of the Packers, I'll ask you right here and now, and everybody out in the Point Nation, when you think Packers, who do you think of receiver-wise right now? Now, I'm not talking about the past with the Cobbs and the Jordy Nelsons and all that of yesteryear. I'm talking about right now. When you think receivers of the Green Bay Packers, what do you think? The Green Bay Packers, when you're talking about receivers, nothing comes to mind for me. What comes to mind for you? Yeah, there's 2 names that pop into my head. And I didn't mean to short sell these guys by any means, give them the short end of the stick. Devin Funchess, Carolina Panther, he just recently released, and Devontae Adams. That's it. That is it. So in my mind, looking back on the scenario in the draft class, apparently either the higher-ups with Green Bay know something that we don't, and they address needs, and I don't have it in front of me. I didn't pull it up. Not sure what they did draft. I don't want to be misquoted. I have an idea, but I want to be misquoted. I'm not saying Devontae Adams and Devin Funchess. I know Devin Funchess has the ability and the talent. He's young. He's bullheaded. But he's a tall, physical body. I know he can go up and get the ball. And let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers is a hell of a lot more accurate than Cam Newton. Right. So, I don't know. Maybe they know something I don't. But I had to say, out of the whole draft, that's what stuck out to me. I don't know why. But seeing them not drafting any receivers, considering their only 2 names I can think of, the ones I just mentioned, kind of makes me wonder, where do you think the Green Bay Packers go from here, man? Do you think they have the possibility to pull a 2009 New Orleans Saints, or do you think they're done?
I think they're going to be hurting unless they plan on maybe dipping into free agency or doing some trades. It's not looking good, man. It's not looking good at all for Green Bay right at the present moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess time will tell.
Yeah,
I guess time will tell. And you have to excuse me. I got a notification. My girl Oscar or Kana-chan had just put out a new YouTube video. So
ooh.
Got a little excited for a second. That's my girl, man. That's my girl. All right, so we just talked about Green Bay, okay? So my next talking point, if you will, is Vince McMahon, SmackDown, this past Friday night. I'm going to say it, even though because I have to, point or no point, but I have a feeling I know where this is going, but point or no point.
We're going to have to go the point on this one, even though I'm going to be flying blind on this one because I have yet to catch the episode to see what everybody's talking about.
All right, so we all know that the sports world, we've talked about it, we've covered it in depth here on the point. The sports world has taken an absolute ass whooping. And with this whole coronavirus thing, now listen, when we're talking about sports, we're talking about sports entertainment as well. Okay, we've evolved in the sports community over the last 10 years to understand that sports are sports. Now, you're going to have the people that argue it's fake and it's not the same thing. Shut up. Get over it. All right.
Jump in the ring for 5 minutes and get slammed around and then come back and ask me or tell me if it's a sport or not.
Right. And if you're talking about the whether it's the win or loss is scripted, then yeah, okay, I hear your point. But there's nothing fake about being hit with a steel chair. There's nothing fake about having your body slammed on 2x8s over top of metal poles with thin canvas and thin pad pulled over top of it. But anyway, off of my soapbox. SmackDown was a cluster F. Now, SmackDown, Raw, AEW, they've all been a cluster. They just can't seem to really. They're slowly but surely finding their way, and I know WWE is finding their way with this cinematic style match, like you saw the Boneyard match at WrestleMania between AJ Styles and The Undertaker. Now, that's not a wrestling match, but for the show, for cinematic value, which is two words that a lot of people don't understand in the entertainment world, which blows my mind. I won't get into that, but it's working, and they're starting to turn towards that more. And we've even talked about the fact, and you've heard Jerry Lawler drop the comment, I think we touched on this before, about the match we've always wanted to see between Undertaker and Sting. And now everybody's kind of having that aha moment. It's like, wait a minute. Could they put on a 20-minute wrestling clinic? No. They probably could, but it would be more like Goldberg and Undertaker over in Saudi. But with the cinematic style, you're only talking about a couple of bumps, which are protected, padded, all that stuff. Yeah, man. Yeah, I can definitely see it. So the point is, even though sports entertainment is hurting, they're coming up with creative ways to keep the show going.
Right.
And one of the latest things that Vince McMahon has decided to do, why I don't know, is this 25th anniversary of Triple H, right? That was the theme of this past SmackDown. For those of you who don't know, WWE Shop released a 25th anniversary belt, which is a big eagle, I think it was.
It was.
Oh, it's the most horrible, asinine-looking shit I've ever seen in my life. It's an absolute disgrace, and if they had any sense, they would take it down, stop selling the damn thing, and it would end up being one of those collector's items like a rated R spinner, because that's the only way it's going to gain any popularity. Again, if I can find a picture, it'll pop up here after the fact. If not, and whatever. But to put it in perspective, imagine the big eagle and imagine a bunch of squares behind it. It looks like some shit out of a Kmart toy section.
They cut out another chunk of leather to put over top of the leather strap in the shape of Triple H's Iron Cross.
It's bad. It's really bad. And I cannot believe in 100 years, I'll never believe it, that the schnoz signed off on that, man.
Why he wouldn't have a main plate, just a main plate in the shape of the Iron Cross, and maybe have the winged eagle coming off of that.
Yeah,
I dig it. But to sandwich two chunks of leather, ugh.
Doesn't make any sense, absolutely, at all. But so Friday night, they get to the end of the show, the main event segment, right? The go home segment, if you will, of SmackDown, and they do this really weird angle, this really awkward, almost painful angle where Triple H comes to the ring, Shawn Michaels comes to the ring, and Shawn Michaels is basically tongue-in-cheek roasting Triple H and dissing him. It's almost like they're trying to set up another Triple H Shawn Michaels match. And he's praising him being a jackass, and then he's really throwing some jabs in there. And there's no crowd, there's no reaction. If there was a crowd there, you would have been a lot more intense. So Shawn Michaels keeps messing with him with his brand new beard he's growing back. And he gets to the point where he calls him out on Stephanie McMahon. How no fun Stephanie McMahon. You hook up with her and all the fun ends. She tells you, next thing you know, Triple H's phone starts ringing on FaceTime, and it's Stephanie McMahon. And they show it. And she's like, I'm watching live. He just said this, that, and the other. And so Triple H is, it's asinine. It's asinine. You have to watch it to understand. So Shawn Michaels can hear everything that's going on. He hangs up the phone. And, of course, he's like, oh, no, she says you look good because she says somebody's lazy eye or something. And Sean's like, oh, what the hell was that? And he's like, oh, she says, hey, you look great, everything, blah, blah, blah. The next thing you know, his phone rings again. It's FaceTime again, and now it's the Nature Boy. And Nature Boy does his whole crying thing, you know, because everybody knows he's emotional as hell. He drinks a lot, all that shit. So they do that. So he does his fake crying thing for the segment, everything. It goes off. Then next thing you know, phone FaceTime rings again, and it's Road Dogg. And all his 9-inch beard glory now. I didn't even recognize his ass. So this shit goes on. This shit show goes on through the commercial break, comes back on. And next thing you know, Vince McMahon comes out, and he's standing on the top of the ramp. And none of the shit he said made any sense at all. I don't know I don't want to speculate if he was under the influence of something or what the hell, if he's just getting older. But he come out, and you could tell it was completely off script. He was coming off the top of his head, and he was having a lot of problems forming the sentences. It's like he was trying to think of shit to say while he was saying it. And he was talking about how he started talking about the gobbledygooker and how they promoted the egg. And it just, dude, I'm telling you, it was absolutely insane.
I'm going to have to go back and watch this. This sounds like a... Ugh.
It was a shit show. And I'm going to be honest with you. That segment shit on Triple H's legacy. It shit on Shawn Michaels. It shit on the Nature Boy. It shit on Road Dogg. It shit on Shane McMahon. And it shit all over Vince McMahon. I don't understand the point of that. I don't. Look, I understand WWE's safety net was showing past their WrestleManias and their other matches. Enough with the bullshit. World Wrestling Entertainment. Can we get back to wrestling? Have some damn wrestling matches and get past the soap opera bullshit. If you're going to have promos and you're going to have shit, like, do it in vignette form where it's professionally produced and interjected into the program. I think they're worrying too much about what they're seeing live and in person themselves, and they're not thinking about cinematic value. And I think it's kicking their ass. I mean, you look at their arena, and what did they do? At first, they had the empty seats, and they had all the lights shining on the seats. And AEW did something totally different. They had a set set up where the chairs were and the light. Next thing you know, WWE's doing that. So they're learning as they go, but I'm trying to understand, and maybe we'll talk about it next week and you watch it and you see for yourself. It was a shit show, man. It was a shit show.
Just from, and again, this is just an opinion from not seeing everything personally, but if it's as bad as it sounds, and mind you, this isn't live anymore. These are pre-taped shows, folks.
Yeah.
Whoever is in the production truck that watched that back and said, yeah, send it through, your ass needs fired.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to watch that, and if it's that big of a shit show as what I'm hearing, and you allowed that as not as a live, but as a taped performance to go on air, you're a freaking moron.
Thank God it wasn't live. I can't imagine what the hell it would have been. But
if it was live, they could have at least cut away or something. But I'm assuming, man, if this is that bad, I'm assuming that Triple H probably thought, they'll cut this crazy old bastard off at the end of the show before they put it on.
Oh, he was intertwined in the whole segment. I mean, after a certain point, he came out, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I turned it off. And I'm gonna be honest with you again. The only reason I watched it is because I heard on the dirt sheets when I was doing research for the show that it was a train wreck. That's the only reason I even watched it. But anyway, in the interest of time, again, let's move on. The next point or no point I want to bring up is the fact Triple H, WrestleMania, this past year, again, Triple H theme tonight. Give him a little bit of respect where credit's due. We'll talk about him more than once or twice. But Triple H had a very strong opinion about this year's WrestleMania, which we know was a whole weekend event. Point or no point.
What the hell? We'll go point on that. I'm liking where you're going.
Triple H has said that he wants to see WrestleMania going forward being a 2-night event instead of a 1-night, 8-9 hour event. What do you think?
Well, here's my problem with that. The reason that they went to a 2-night event this time was because they had to pretty much completely cancel the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, which is night 1 originally. So now you're telling me that we're actually going to have 3 nights. So how are you going to do SmackDown on Friday and the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony and then have WrestleMania on Saturday and Sunday?
Right. I agree. Hey, look, we all know why WrestleMania has gotten so big, right? So long. Because you can't have 300 wrestlers and only have 5 on the paper. Okay? So that is why things have gotten bigger over the years. But let's be honest right here, right now. The pre-show's 2 damn hours long. Less is more, and I think we've gotten away from that as a culture, not just pro wrestling. Of course, pro wrestling and wrestling entertainment, sports entertainment has always mimicked reality, right? We all know that. That's the beauty of it. Promo entertainment, same way. You know, people get called racist, they get called all that. It mimics reality. It's not real, but it mimics reality. So these characters portray this stuff. But over time, you grow and these shows get longer and they get longer and get longer. What they need to do, I remember I harken back to when I was a child and I watched a WCW pay-per-view. And the pay-per-view was 2 hours long. And sometimes shorter than that. I mean, sometimes it'd be an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. But you didn't have a damn pre-show. What you had was when the pay-per-view started, the commentators ran down the card. All right, guys, we're going to get to the ring. And by the time they're done talking, you already hear ding, 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 ding. And they're announcing the son of bitches. The fog hits, whatever, and they come out, boom, the little lights that, you know, that was it, man. There's no need for a 2-hour pre-show. There's no need for 20 minutes of talking when the pay-per-view starts. You can cut a lot of this out and get back to brass tacks. Less is more. Get back to the substance of the show. But as we all know, WWE is now and has always been about pageantry more so than the actual athletics.
Yep.
And that is, it killed them back then. And when they bought WCW and ECW, it kind of brought them back to a center, made it more realistic. And now they're starting to get away from that shit again. And CM Punk said it best in his pipe bomb. I got nothing against Vince McMahon at all. But when he dropped that pipe bomb promo, he said, I'd like to think that this shit's going to get better when Vince McMahon is gone. But the truth of the matter is, it's just going to be taken over by his doofus son-in-law and all the glad-handing yes man that he's surrounded himself with, who's going to. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Triple H does have a different vision. But he's going to be surrounded by the same damn people that Vince is surrounded by. So, I don't know, man. I like the 2-day thing to some extent because it's not so energy draining to watch 8. I mean, hell, 8 hours is a work day, man.
Yeah.
For most people. But my only concern is if the Super Bowl was 2 days, does everybody in this country have 2 days to devote to sit in front of a TV and watch it?
Exactly. And another thing that they need to start doing, instead of trying to do just like this 25th anniversary thing, they need to go back. And the one thing that I really liked that WCW used to do was when the superstars cut their promos, when, you know, say Stunning Steve Austin, when he was announced he was coming to the ring, while he was walking to the ring, instead of making the entrance so over the top, that's when at the top right corner, he came in the box and he shot his promo as he was walking to the ring.
Yep.
And then, they announced, Sid Vicious. He would come to the ring and he would feed off of his promo, off of Austin's promo, and it would be up in the top right corner. Save yourself all the flashy lights, the fireworks, all that crap. Go back to where it used to be about the entertainment. We don't need to be entertained by a ring entrance. Once you've seen Goldberg come through the fog and the sparklers once, you've seen it 100 million times.
Well, see, I think that goes back to their target audience.
Right.
I think that's the problem. See, someone like you and I, in the age group that we are, the genre that we come from, and the generation that we grew up, we just wanted to see some people kicking ass, taking names. WWE has blatantly said numerous times, and they make no qualms about it, that they're PG. And when you talk about PG, you're talking about an age range that's a hell of a lot lower than ours.
Right.
They little kids that are all flashing lights and fog and the Undertaker's entrance, which is anyway. I agree with you because what we want to see is the ass kick. PG folks, that age group. That's why I think AEW is going to end up taking. They're not going to ever take over or beat WWE, but they're damn sure going to compete.
The thing that they got to remember, and I've said this a million times about the PG era. I understand the PG era as far as merchandise sales because that's your bread and butter. But at the same time, you're trying to sell merchandise to kids. You're trying to get kids to watch. But at the same time, you've also got to pull in the adults because the adults are the ones that are financing the kids, buying the merchandise that you're aiming at. So why wouldn't you take one show, say a Monday Night Raw, make that your rated MA or rated, mature to draw in those, and then SmackDown, make that your PG show that's for your kids. You have your Baileys, you have your John Cena's, you have, all these guys that are the play to the kids that are your money makers in that age range.
Shit, I'll take it one step further. Why not have SmackDown like it used to be on network television? I know they don't make as much money. It's all about that, almighty dollar more than it is the product. And that's obvious, painfully obvious. But you put SmackDown back on network television. Like you just said, you make that your PG show, right? Then you have Raw on cable television. You make that the TVMA where you're risque, da-da-da. You can even go so far as having Raw as your heel show and SmackDown as your face show. So when you actually have Raw versus SmackDown, it makes sense.
Right.
And you have heels and faces throughout both. Don't get me wrong.
You can even take that a step further and say, understand, again, the money situation. But me personally, if I was a fan and if WWE came out and they said, okay, we're going to go back to mature audiences only for Raw. But here's the catch. We're going to make it strictly on the WWE network, and we're going to bump WWE network up to $14.99.
Yep.
Make up for what we're losing going off of USA. I would gladly pay an extra $5 if I had the network to see the product of days gone by.
Yep. And
then that puts it in the parents' control to whether they want their kids to be able to watch that or not. It's on an app. If you're not on there, you delete the app. You put a child restriction on the app so that they can't watch it. Problem solved. Everybody's happy.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head. 2 words. One, money, and the other, control. And we all know that something like that, a business that big, they're not going to give anybody control. And I know you remember, and I know we got to cut this. We're running a little bit late here, but, you know, not long ago, was it a year or two ago, 3 years ago, you remember Vince McMahon came to the ring, Triple H came to the ring, Stephanie came to the ring. And everybody kept saying, give the fans what they want, give the fans what they want, give the fans what they want. And I'll never forget it because I watched it because they hyped it big time. And I actually watched Raw for the first time in a long time, front and center when it came on. I think I even took that day off from work for another reason. So I was front and center when it came on. And they get in the ring and they're talking about, we're going to give you, we've been listening. You want it? You're going to get it. We're going to give the fans what they want. And the first thing they did right out the gate after that was something asinine and completely different. They used it to cut a promo, basically. And they went right back to doing the same old shit. It lasted 5 seconds.
It lasted 1 week. The first week that Paul Heyman was in charge, the show was freaking spectacular. Yep. And after that, we kept getting handed turd sandwiches all over again.
Yep. They brought Eric Bischoff in, and it wasn't 5 seconds, and they already sent his ass right back out the door. And Paul Heyman, the same thing. I mean, he's still there. He's whatever, but Paul Heyman's in a position to where it's like, all right, you're here, and we want you to do all this, but I have to sign off on it.
Right.
So it's like, I got this great idea. Let's push Ricochet or Cedric Alexander, and we're going to push this guy. Let's push it. Yeah. Goes out there. He has 1 or 2 good matches 2 weeks in a row, and then Vince is like, I don't like it.
Jinder Mahal. We got an India tour coming up. Let's put it on this guy so we get a big pop when we go to India. Oh wait. 3 weeks later, who Jinder who?
And who didn't see that shit coming? A mile away. And listen, Jinder's got the look. He's got badass theme music. I'm sorry, I love that theme music and that look on his face. He come out and he's just like I'm the greatest thing. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I was a Jinder fan, man. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's the same thing with Drew.
From 3MB, I thought after 3MB those boys were done.
Oh yeah. But it's the same thing with Drew McIntyre, man. They're gonna shit on him too. So mark my words.
Oh yeah. Eventually something will happen that they don't like, and we'll be right back to Roman Reigns.
Yep, right on. So again, we're running a little late. We're running over an hour, but it's been another great episode. New concept. I like it. We didn't have any no points today, which is a good thing. That means everything that I researched, we actually wanted to talk about. So maybe next week I'll throw in some shit. But good concept. I like it. Gives us some talking points and a different avenue. Again, the point is what@gmail.com. If y'all have any concepts you want to hear, see, got any questions, you want to be a guest, any of that shit, feel free to hit us up. I don't give a damn who you are. If you want to come on, we'll bring you on. We'll shoot a segment with you and have you on. We're all about spreading the love and having fun here. I know everybody's cooped up in the house on quarantine because of COVID-19. Hell, if you're scared, say you're scared. I'm just saying. If you're waiting on me, waiting on Haystacks, your ass is backing up. But speaking of Haystacks, we're going to go ahead and cut this damn thing off. Our 3 months is wrapping up. Mr. Haystacks here is going to drop the point on that ass. So, Haystacks, I'm going to let you get to it. Again, it's been a pleasure. As always, again, congratulations on your successful title defense. You have to keep us updated on the next one. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you on the flip. And it's been another beautiful episode of The Point. We love you, but we got to roll. Haystacks, what was yours?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the dirty dozen. And at this point, it again is that time for what is the point. The point, it's staying pretty much the same. Thank God for the NFL draft. Thank God for a little bit of craziness going on in the world. But hey, we're still here. We're still going strong. We appreciate the numbers. everybody, all the new subscribers, all the old subscribers still hanging out, all the views. We love you guys. We appreciate it. As always, remember, your questions, your comments, your concerns, send them to us, guys. We'll gladly put them on the air. Hit us up if you want to come on. Again, we appreciate everything. The point is being, we're here to stay and we ain't going nowhere. See y'all next week.
Thank you for watching The Point.